Hello, today I'm going to show you how to make this 1/12 scale 4-drawer chest of drawers. And I finished mine in a dark oak varnish, but you could also use maybe a pastel paint colour to give it a sort of shabby chic appearance. The wood I've used again is Obeche, and that's spelled O-B-E-C-H-E, and it's just a nice fine grained craft wood. You'll need 3 thicknesses of wood, a 0.8mm, which is 1/32 of an inch, 1.5, which is 1/16 of an inch, and 2.5, which is 3/32 of an inch. Craft knife, I use this Swan Morton knife with a size 10A blade, metal handle, nice sturdy knife, and that will cut wood up to the thickness of 3mm. Always put a new blade in at the start of a project, or if it begins to catch or drag along the wood, that means it's becoming blunt. A steel rule for measuring and for using along with your craft knife to cut the wood. Nice sharp pencil for accurate marking. To shape these mouldings at the bottom, you'll need a tool called a scribe, and that's just a tool with a sharp point on the end. And this is actually out of an old electrical kit, but it does the job perfectly. The wood glue I use is called Gorilla wood glue. Bonds really quickly, nice strong glue, dries clear. I've just used a normal interior varnish. That's a satin finish. I use cocktail sticks to apply my glue, and I dispense it onto just a piece of cereal packet card. That just makes it easier to apply. And for the drawer knobs, I've used these 2.5mm wooden knobs. You might like to use maybe a brass handle or drawer pull. If so, they can just be attached after you've applied the varnish. And then a couple of grades of sandpaper, and I cut mine into these small, more manageable pieces. And then you'll need a sheet for when we come to bevel the top part. And I use 120 grade, which is a stronger one for shaping the wood, and then a 500, which is a nice fine grade for preparing the piece for varnish. And I think that's everything you're going to need. The cutting list is coming up next, and then we'll get started. Okay, so we're going to begin by drawing lines across the back and side pieces to help with the placement of the drawer shelves. And just to speed that process up a little bit, I just use masking tape to stick these 3 pieces together, just a little bit at the top and bottom of each piece. And that way you're just drawing a line across the whole piece rather than the 3 separate pieces. So turn it lengthways, and then in millimetres the measurement needs to be 18mm from what will become this top edge, and 35mm. And in inches, that's 45/64 of an inch and 1 3/8 of an inch. So just make a pencil mark at either end and then join those up with a faint line. Okay, you can remove the masking tape. Okay, and then next we want to make a pencil mark down the centre of the back piece, just inside this top section, and this is for our drawer divide for the 2 smaller drawers. So just a little line there, one there. And then take the top piece. You've got 4 pieces the same size, top and bottom, and the 2 drawer shelves. And we're going to draw a line down the centre of the shorter edge. And when you join that line, just continue the pencil line onto the sort of front and back edge of the wood. And that will just help when we come to place the divide. And then take your next sort of shelf down, and we're going to do the same with that piece. So down the centre and continuing the line onto the front and back edge of the wood, like that. Okay, so I've dispensed some glue onto a piece of cereal packet card, and I'm going to use a cocktail stick to apply it with. I want to begin by applying glue to the outer edge of this back piece. I'm going to attach it to the side piece. Press those together, and then just always have a clean cocktail stick handy just to remove the excess glue from along that inside join. And then take your top piece, and that's going to sit on the inside edge of those joined pieces so that the pencil line is on this inside. So apply glue to one short edge and one long edge. And then position the piece so that it's flush with the top of that back edge, and so that it's sitting right in the corner there. You may just have to pull this side piece up to meet it, and that will square everything off. I'm just using my finger to make sure that that top edge is nice and flush. And then again, use your clean cocktail stick to remove glue if you need to. Okay, and then take your drawer divide and apply glue to one long edge, one short edge. And then this piece is going to sit centrally over that line. So let me turn it that way so you can see what I'm doing there. I'm using the small line that we made on the front edge of the top piece just to make sure that that is central, and then again central at the back there. And then apply a line of glue along the bottom of the drawer divide, and then take the first shelf piece and apply glue along one long and one short edge. And then this will glue, turn it round again, into place. And use the pencil lines to make sure that it's straight and that the central drawer divide is sitting centrally above the pencil line on the front there. Push it right into the corner. And press it against the central drawer divide too. Just look from the front angle and make sure that all looks square. And you can attach the next shelf. So again, apply glue to one short and one long edge. And then position that piece again so it's sitting just above that pencil line. Again, remove any excess glue. And then finally the bottom piece. And again, that sits on that inside edge, and so that it's flush with the bottom of the back piece. Again, just pull that side piece in to meet it if you need to. And then turn the piece onto its side and apply glue along each of these outer edges. And then attach the remaining side piece. So they're just sort of flush with the top and bottom and along the back. And then just take a peep inside to make sure that the shelves are sitting just above those pencil lines. And then I've got some masking tape here, and I'm just going to stick it over the side and onto the top and bottom, pulling quite tightly. And this will just hold everything together whilst the glue is drying. So once you've allowed enough time for the glue to dry, remove the masking tape and then just sand that around all edges just to remove any rough areas the tape may have left. And then take the two side mouldings and we're going to bevel one long edge of each piece. So to do that, just hold the piece against a sheet of sandpaper on your worktop at a 45-degree angle and then just sweep it towards you. And you don't need to press too hard. And a few sweeps will do the trick. Just do a couple more on there. And then I just like to go over the top with a piece of fine grade sandpaper just to tidy that up. Like that. I'm going to glue one to each edge of the unit. So apply a line of glue along the bottom edge and just to the thickness there of your bottom piece. So about 1.5mm, 1/16 of an inch. And then attach the piece so it's level, or the top of it is level with the top of this bottom piece. Get the front into place first. And then take your ruler and you just want to measure how much room there should be from the top to the top of the side moulding. And then measure at the back and make any small adjustments if you need to. And press that into place. And get your spare cocktail stick and remove the excess glue, but without sort of nudging the moulding. Again, it's really important to remove the excess glue as you're going along, especially if you're going to be varnishing the piece, because varnish doesn't take over glue. So remove as much as you can as you're going along, and then sand, obviously before varnishing, just to make sure it's all gone. I'm going to attach the piece at the other side. And then that can be left to dry, and then we'll attach the back moulding. Okay, so the same as we did with the side mouldings, bevel one long edge of the back moulding and then apply glue along the edges of the side mouldings and along the bottom edge of the unit itself. And this one's easier to place because we've already done the measuring with the side mouldings. So we then just need to line this up with those so the bottom edges are all flush, so that our cabinet stands nice and straight. and the sides should be flush as well. If you do have a tiny bit of an overhang, don't worry, because we'll tidy that up once the glue has dried, and we'll also get rid of these corners by using a fine grade sandpaper just to shape those round, so it's all going to look nice and flush. Again, remove the excess glue, and once again that piece can be left to dry. And whilst the glue is drying, we can begin by shaping our bottom moulding. So cut a piece of paper the same size as the bottom moulding piece, fold it in half. This is to make a template to create the shape, and then starting from that centre, just sort of do a, let's move over a bit, do a curved line, bring it up. I'm just going to do a little dip there and then down at the edge. Now you don't want to be too elaborate with your pattern because it will be more difficult to cut out, and always leave a bit of a straight area here which will act as a foot at that edge of the unit. So you don't have to do it exactly as I've done, but try and keep it simple. So cut that out. And then open that out. That's the template for the moulding. And then you want to draw that onto the piece of wood. So line it up so the straight edges are in alignment with the bottom of the piece of wood, and then draw around it. And then take your scribe tool, and we're just going to use this like a pencil and just go over that pencil line again. And at this stage we're not trying to cut through the wood, we're just scoring the pattern deeper into the wood, and this helps make it easier when you come to cut it out. The knife then sort of stays on track. Okay. And then take your craft knife, and I've just changed the blade for this, which makes it easier. And if you follow my tutorials, you know I use this technique quite a lot, and I always say it, but really please do be careful of your fingers. It's easy for the knife just to slip, and I've had many cuts that way. So you just want to begin by, again, using the knife like a pencil, and just now sort of making a shallow score into the wood, not trying to cut through completely. We're just making that line deeper. Always be aware of where your fingers are in relation to the blade. And it's well worth practicing this technique on a piece of scrap wood. Once you know how to do it, it can be used on so many pieces of furniture, dressers and sideboards, just to give them a nice little detail. Once you've gone through, you can go back to the beginning. Now you can start actually trying to remove the piece of wood. And it does take time, so don't rush at it. It can be very annoying if you've sort of almost done and then you happen to cut through the wood. And sometimes it's not salvageable, so very annoying. If you find there's a bit where it doesn't want to go through, it's probably because there's a knot in the wood. So just persevere. There, the first bit's free. So just work your way along. until all of the pieces are free. And then take a piece of your fine grade sandpaper, and you just want to start by sanding along the edge of the wood. Just remove all those rough sections. And then if you've got a nice curvy pattern, it helps to wrap the sandpaper around a pencil and then sand in each of those shapes. And don't sand too harshly, as you'll sort of take away from the pattern you've created. And then you can also work the sandpaper from front to back, just to give it a nice sort of beveled edge. Curve the paper round as well to create a sort of rounded sanding shape. Get rid of those corners on that middle section as well. And just really keep going until you've got a nice even shape and no rough edges. So once you're happy with your moulding, same thing again, we're going to bevel along that straight edge. And then apply glue again to the front of the side mouldings. Along that front edge of the bottom shelf. And then attach the front moulding. And this time you need to be careful that it's not overlapping that bottom drawer opening. So just use your thumb in there to make sure that you've got a nice flush edge along the front, otherwise we'll have trouble getting the drawer in and out. And again, don't worry too much about these corners because we'll tidy those up once the glue has completely dried. So press that very carefully into place. And then once again, we'll leave that piece to dry. So the glue around the mouldings is now completely dried. That's been drying off now for a couple of hours. And I've already sanded the bottom of the unit just by going in circular motions on the sandpaper. I won't do it now because it makes a horrible sound. And that just ensures that you've got a nice flat bottom edge and that your unit will stand straight or level. And then take a piece of your fine grade sandpaper and we're just going to tidy up these corners. So working from front to back, just round it, or sweep it rather, over the corner to round it off. And that will give you a nice sort of beveled front edge, but it will also give you a straight side. So work your way around the unit, doing that on each corner. So once you've gone around all of the corners, then take your piece of sandpaper and you just want to sand off the top of that join, just to flatten that off. And then when you've done that, just bring the sandpaper sort of from top to bottom, and then that will round off that corner. And when you're done, you'll end up with a corner like that just looks like a nice sort of flush edge. Okay, so again, work your way all the way around. Okay, so in the cutting list I advise you not to cut the pieces needed for the drawers until construction of the main unit has been completed. And that's just because slight misplacement of any of these pieces the drawer divide or the shelves will affect the size of the drawer opening. And if you've already cut your drawer pieces, it's really annoying when you come to fit them and they don't actually fit into the opening. So construct first, measure the opening, and then cut your drawer pieces. And when you measure the opening, you just want to deduct 0.5 millimetre, 1/32 of an inch from each measurement, so width, depth and height, and that will just ensure that the drawer will slide in and out smoothly. Okay, so once you've cut your pieces, you want to begin by attaching the side pieces to the outer edge of the base piece. So apply glue along each of those shorter edges. And then press the side pieces into place. Keep them as upright as you can. And then that can just be moved to one side to dry. And I've got the other drawer, top drawer here that I did earlier. Once the sides have dried, apply glue to the front and back. And then you can attach the front and back pieces. So pop that back down and then just press the front and back pieces into place. As long as you haven't allowed too much time for the glue to set, you'll be able to bring those side pieces up to match the edges of the drawer front and back. And then just very carefully squeeze all that together, and then that again can be left to dry. So once you've allowed enough time for the glue to dry, you can sand the drawer on all edges. So just hold it against your sandpaper, and on the top and bottom just go round in small circular motions, and I'm not doing it because it makes such an awful sound. And then on the sides just go along in the one direction so that you don't round off the edges, and then that should just slide nice and easily in and out of the drawer opening. And then cut the required moulding, and again, if you've had to resize your drawers, just cut this so it's 1 millimetre less on each side and on the top and bottom, so you've got a nice border around the edge. And then we're going to bevel each edge, but not on the sandpaper as normal, because it's such a thin wood. If you drag it across the sandpaper, you'll probably crack it. So I always do the thinner wood just in my hand. So hold it in your hand and then just sweep the sandpaper from front to back. And I'm supporting the wood as high up as I can as I do it. This is less than 1 millimetre thick, so it does crack quite easily. And you can go across like that, just to sort of round off those sort of hard edges. Okay, so once you've beveled around all of the edges, apply glue to the back of the moulding. And then attach that to the front of the drawer, leaving an even border around all edges. Press that into place, and do remember to remove the excess glue. Like that. And then, as I've said before, all mouldings need to be secured until the glue has dried, otherwise the wood will try to peel away from the drawer. So use a couple of clamps, or you could probably use clothes pegs if you don't have any clamps. Just get rid of that glue now. And then that can be left to dry. So attach the moulding to the front of all of the drawers, and once that's dried we'll come back and fit the drawer knobs. Okay, so once you've allowed enough time for the glue to dry, remove your clamps and then sand the drawer fronts ready for varnishing, especially along these edges, just to make sure there's no glue residue left there. And then we can attach the drawer knob. So first of all, measure across the drawer, and then just make a faint pencil line down the centre, like that, and then turn, and then you can make a little dot again in the centre, like that, and then erase the pencil line. They do still show beneath the varnish. And then this has got a 1.5mm drill bit in it, and I think the stalks on these are about that. Once I've drilled through, I always sort of wiggle the drill a bit, and that just makes the hole slightly larger. There. And then I just wiggle the drill around like that, and that just makes the hole slightly larger, big enough to take the stem of the draw knob. But obviously if you've got a drill bit that is exactly the same size, you don't need to do that. And then just put a little dab of glue over the hole. That will sort of naturally fall inside there. And then push the draw knob into place. Make sure it goes right in, it's sitting straight on the drawer front. And then again remove any glue that might have come out around the edge, like that. And then on these two we want the draw knobs to be level with the ones above. So whatever your central mark was, come across from the edge of the drawer and drill your holes there. Okay, so the next thing to do is attach the chest of drawers top, and we're going to begin by beveling one long edge and both short edges. So place the piece against the sandpaper and just sweep it towards you, holding it at a 45-degree angle. And then turn and do the sides. And just keep going until you've got a nice even bevel around those three sides. Okay, so we're going to attach this to the top of the unit. So the back edge is flush with the back of the chest, and there's an even overhang at either side, and that should just be the bevel that you've just made. Okay, so apply glue to the top of the unit. Making sure you get it right along the edges and into the corners. And then place your piece so it's obviously beveled side down. Use your fingers to make sure it's flush along that back edge. And then you can pick it up and position it so you've got that even overhang at either side. Press it into place. And then use your spare cocktail stick to remove the glue. And then making sure it stayed where it should, I'm going to secure this with masking tape. So right across the front like that, pull it quite tightly. And I'm going to put another piece across that back edge, and then just check along the back, and if it's raising at all, or if you've got any gaps along there, you could just put another couple of pieces down the back like that. And then around the front again, I'm going to use a couple of clamps in each drawer opening just to hold that into place so that it doesn't raise as the glue is drying. So So once that glue has dried, we'll give the piece a final sand and then it's ready for varnishing. Okay, so once the glue has dried, you can remove the masking tape and then give all of the pieces an extra sand, really sort of concentrating along joins just to make sure there's no glue residue left. And then once I've sanded, I use a soft brush and I just go over all the pieces just to remove any remaining dust. And then you can begin to varnish. There is the completed unit. Now I gave that 2 coats of varnish, and after the first coat had dried I gave it a gentle sand, and then after the second coat I again just sanded along the edges of the drawers. And you'll find that when you're varnishing the drawers can come a bit sticky, so I use this clear wax. Well, it's actually just a clear shoe polish, this one, but you could also use furniture wax, and I've given the whole unit a coat, just applying it with a piece of kitchen towel, and then I also apply it to the sides and bottom of the drawers, and you'll find that that just helps them to glide in and out smoothly. So I hope you've enjoyed this project. If so, please do subscribe to the channel as there's lots more to come. And you also might like my first book, Step-by-Step Doll's House Furniture Projects in 1/12 scale. And there's over 27 projects in the book, all laid out in easy to follow step-by-step tutorials. The book is available from Amazon along with my other 2, and I'll pop a couple of links below. And for now, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.